Hello chaps and chappets, and welcome to another Board Games Everybody Should... and another Seventh Continent review, which is going to be different from the last one that I've done, due to the fact that I'm going to be telling you about how the game plays and feels as a two-player experience. And I'm also going to be talking about the expansions and how they change the game as well, because in my other video, cue link, I didn't talk about these things. I played with the base game and I played just solo. Now I've cooked up 50 hours of playing this game, which is a hell of a lot of time to invest into a board game. Has my thoughts and feelings changed after playing it for 50 hours? Has my thoughts and feelings changed after playing it with another player? Let's find out. Let's explore those places where Indiana Jones is scared to go.
Junior, these people are trying to kill us.
I know, Dad.
This is a new experience for me.
Happens to me all the time. So let's recap of my experience of the Seventh Continent. I have played 7 games, and when I say 7 games, I have lived out 7 curses. And when I say lived out, I actually died 7 times. Well, I've actually died 8 times. I've tried the Bloody Hunt twice and failed. I have tried the Dark Chest of the Damned once and failed. And I have tried the Voracious Goddess 4 times and failed. The last time I played the Voracious Goddess is with a friend, and we got quite far. We played for about 9 or 10 hours before we eventually died. And we both actually died once in the game and lost a character, but through the power of the game, you can resurrect another character and continue playing as long as there is one character still alive, and you haven't been cursed. So there's one positive thing about playing with another player, as in comparison to playing solo. And so before I do some more comparisons about what happens when you play with other players, I'm going to start with the expansions. What happens when you add the expansions? Well, the first thing that happens is your 3 boxes of cards will be chock-a-block. The Icy Mage, the Forbidden Sanctuary, and the Swamp of Madness will add some more exploration cards to your existing ones, which will give you some different random events. And they will also add a lot of cards which go to different areas, and a few other little cards which will go in with other cards of the same number that you already have in the base game. But I haven't played with any of these, I haven't done any of these curses, so I haven't explored those lands, but I have experienced those exploration cards. The Path of Repentance, again, I haven't played, but it adds a few cards, and if you start with the Pocket Watch, these will come into play with your game. This is kind of like a little thing added to your main game, but as I said, I haven't played, I can't comment. But what I can comment on is the Fear of the Devourers and the Facing the Elements. When you add these to the game, of course, they're going to add some exploration cards to your deck, and these exploration cards will come out. Sometimes they'll come out a bit too much, and sometimes they hardly come out at all. In both these expansions, you'll get some extra elements as well as a load of cards. They're like these elements here. You'll have these storms, whirlwinds, and snowstorms, and auroras, which will stat on these lovely little stands. And these are really nice kind of addition to the game. They add some good things and some bad things. You know, there could be a snowstorm on a tile, but unfortunately it will affect the whole board, making it all snowy everywhere and making movement a lot harder, but at the same time will give you an advantage at hiding or sneaking. And then you have the Fear of the Devourers, which adds these really cool little figurines to the game. You have these little baby devourers, the adults, and then the giant ones, and they all have their different actions in the game. But the drawback with them, as I see it, is when they do appear, I kind of feel frustrated that I have to get out the components and add them and put them together, because you're going to have to take these standees down if you want to squeeze them into the base box. Otherwise, you just have to store them in the box that they came in. Again, with the minis, it's open the box and get them out, which is a bit of a hindrance personally for me. But as I said, they do come out, and when they do come out, sometimes they come out in, you know, one after the other. It's like, oh, there's a giant worm there. Oh, there's an adult worm there. Oh, there's a snowstorm all of a sudden. And it kind of detracts from the simplicity of the game, where it is just basically cards. You'll turn over an event card and something will happen and you'll figure out what's the best thing to do. But with this is kind of like, not pauses the game, but it kind of like adds something to it, which you might find enjoyable. Obviously, they are enjoyable. Some of the things that you can do with the baby worms is quite nice. And again, you're not restricted to one action. You have several actions that you can do to get through the event or get past this monster. There are some, you know, events that I still haven't encountered in the event deck. All because there's been more added to them, especially Area 2. There is a big stack of cards, of events that can happen to you, and I probably haven't experienced half of them. Ooh, don't look at that. Due to the possibility of drawing, you know, from, what, 40 cards here, I'm only going to get 20 of those at a time, or less, per game. So these two expansions alone do add quite a lot of replayability due to the fact that they add in a lot more different events when you start exploring the Fog of War. Another little hindrance with these events, the elements and the monsters, is you'll have to draw one card because it's turned up, and then you'll have to draw another card because there's some more information on that card which will tell you more about what's going on, and then you might have to draw an extra card just to do with this one event that takes place on this one space, which can again be cumbersome. It's like, okay, I got to draw this, and got to draw this, and I got to draw this. But as I said, it does add a nice element of difference to the game and changes the gameplay up a bit. Playing a two-player game is a bit swings and roundabouts. There's some advantages of having an extra player there, and there's some disadvantages as well. By having a second player, or maybe more players, there is more downtime because there's this negotiation of like where you're going to go and what you're going to do, and then you have this banter back and forth of, you know, especially if you've played before, it's like, well, we shouldn't do that really because of this might happen, and other players might be like, well, you know, there's a hole and I want to stick my hand in it and find out what everything is. There's people that go touch, but then there's the other people that are just like, maybe we shouldn't because it might be so dangerous. We know we got to go this way. Let's just keep going this way. Let's just keep walking in a straight line. Yes. And again, they might point out some rules that you've missed or forgotten about or have interpreted in a different way, because as I said, this rulebook it needs some pinning down on certain actions and things with some more examples and bits and pieces. I found playing with my colleague, there were rules that I've missed, and he found that there were some rules that he missed, and that there were rules that we interpreted differently, like the basket, how the basket works, or how walking works, or how the curses work. When you're playing with people that have not experienced the Seventh Continent, or people that haven't explored the Seventh Continent as well as you have, there is always this kind of air, and it's like, well, what should I do? Should I be, you know, open and say, right, we need to go this way, and we need to do this, and we need to do that? Or do I just say, well, where should we go? And be open to the other players. So there's always that kind of, what should we do, and where should we do it, and how should we do it? But at the same time, they could do their own thing. They could go off in a different direction. They say, well, sod you, I'm going this way and doing that. And that opens up a total different avenue of gameplay. When people start doing other things, and you're like, okay, well, we shouldn't really be doing that, but, you know, you shouldn't be really poking the dragon with the stick. No, you should just leave it alone. But sometimes it's rewarding because they do things that you don't want to do. You know, they might be poking the dragon with a stick, and the dragon just might lay an egg, and inside the egg is something that you need. Or sometimes the dragon just bites your head clean off, man. You know. Again, splitting up is very practical if you are paranoid. This is the one way to get rid of this status, is to be all alone. Whereas in a solo mode, you're always alone, so you're never going to be paranoid, which is great. But there are more options open to you playing with other players. There may be something that you do. You might climb off a ledge and not climb successfully and fall to your death. But your other character that didn't go with you, your other player, they live on, so they can continue this story. And then you just respawn as another character, which luckily puts some cards into your action deck, which gives you some more life. Woohoo! And then the story can continue. Whereas if you're playing solo, if you fell off the cliff and died, you fell off the cliff and died and you've got to start again. Doing things together is always a great thing as well, because they may have objects that you don't have and you may have objects that they don't have, or you may have objects which you could use together to do something, to make a task more easy, to get through this perilous part very simply. And that is always a bonus. But the negativity of that is when you're doing something, you have to draw action cards, and sometimes you're like, well, okay, we should just draw 3 cards, and your opponent's saying, no, we should draw 4. 3. They're going 4, and then 3, and this is back and forth of how many cards you should draw. And then there's the name calling afterwards when you do draw 3 cards and you fail the task, and you've all been injured and bloodied and everything, and that's fun, but at the same time it's annoying because you know you should have gone for 4. Again, staying together in a team is very practical and useful for, say, walking or moving around, because some terrain is quite hazardous and quite hard to traverse. But if you do the action together, what you can do is you can negate the amount of action cards that you draw, but if you do, for each one that you diminish, you have to add a success. So it might take you 3 action cards to move from this space to that space, but you need no successes. But with someone else, you could say, oh, you know what, let's just draw 2 and get 1 success. And there's a good chance of you drawing 2 cards and getting 1 success and successfully moving to the next space, which is great. Then you don't need the walking stick, or you don't need snow boots or whatever to move around. You just need someone to help push you along. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention in my first review is how good the text is in this game. It is so immersive, and even though sometimes you're reading the same card several times because you've saved or you've died and had to start again, it always seems refreshing. It's never too long because it's just like a sentence or a little phrase. It always reminds you of, like, okay, I am here. These little moments of text give you flavour and give you clues and point out things that you might have missed. You know, your opponent might just say, well, they use the word the and not they. Okay, that means, a new avenue explodes in your head. If you've played solo before you've played with other players, you may find that you feel a bit restricted with the inventory that you have and the amount of cards that you have in your hand, because you'll be having less the more players there are. And I found this a bit restrictive. You know, I was so used to having 4 items that I can build, and then each object can have like 4 cards attached to it. I can have 4 cards in my hand. I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to do this, and this. But when you're playing with another player or more players, you're going to have left cards, and you kind of like feel even more squeezed into a small box. It's like, I've got this card, and I can't build it because if I do, I'm going to have to throw that one away, or going to not add any kind of extension to the life of that object. And it's a tad annoying, but at the same time it's quite useful because the other guy's probably got a really cool weapon, and they're probably the only one that can build it. Again, as I said, swings and roundabouts in this game. Another drawback about playing this game with other people is you all will have to wait until they come and sit at your table to play the game again. It's kind of like that kind of old school Flash Gordon 5-minute epic story cinema thing that they used to have. What would have happened to Flash? He's just walked off a mountain and to be continued. And it's like the moments in between the next game session, you're occupied in your head with, okay, right, Flash has just walked off the cliff and a rocket comes along and saves him, or Ming the Merciless just teleports him away. There are real cliffhanger moments, and you can't wait to play again, but unfortunately you will have to wait. Whereas if you're playing solo, if you're feeling like that, I've got 30 minutes, I'm gonna play Seventh Continent. So have my feelings for this game changed after playing it with more players and adding the expansions in and having lots more hours wasted sat at a table while the wife's doing the ironing and tiling the bathroom? No, there are these little frustrating little things, but the thing is, the adventure that you have is just mind-blowingly cool. It is like reading a choose-your-own-adventure book, but it is a point-and-click computer game. It's not choose-your-own-adventure. It's a game where you are the hero and you are the computer doing all the calculations. But at the same time, you don't feel it. You're just so engrossed in this adventure. It is like watching an Indiana Jones film, and you're praying that you get through. And you're seeing everything Indy does. You know, you're seeing him go to pee behind a tree while he's exploring. You know, he's not casually just brushing spiders off himself. He's got to eat, he's got to camp, he's got to sleep, and you're going to be doing all that in the game. Which reminds me, cheating. A little bug in the game is you can cheat, you can save your game in a zone where you're hunting. You catch some food, eat it, restore some energy, save the game. Hunt some animals, eat some food, restore some energy, save the game. Repeat loop, go to subroutine. Yeah, it worked really well the last time we did it. We was able to restore all our energy, but at the same time it was like, I feel bad because I'm actually kind of cheating. And of course you can't just like look at it. What happened if we did do that and look at the card? But thankfully I haven't been tempted to do that because I'm just so enjoying all the crap that happens to me. So has playing with a second player and adding the expansions altered my opinions about the game? No, this is still a 10 out of 10 for me. This Black Box of Death is the most wonderful, adventurous, Cthulhu-esque MacGyver Skyrim edition of a game that you can sit on your tabletop and absorb all of your hours of your life. Even with the little finicky bugging around with the little toys, kind of just hampers the game a bit. And again, you're dying all the time and you're struggling and you're repeating and you're going through Groundhog Day time and time again. But that doesn't detract from the pleasure and the excitement and the nail-biting tension which is built into every card of this game. Technically, it's still a 9 out of 10 due to the fact that the cards are starting to fade a bit around the corners on some of them, and again there is the errors which is still prominent in this first edition, but which will be changed in the second edition. But apart from that, this game is it lived up to my expectations when I did the Kickstarter review 2 years ago, and maybe I'll do another video in another couple of years and see if I'm still exploring and still having fun in this island of death. So all that remains me to do is to say thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you know someone that might profit and might be interested in the Seventh Continent and my wisdom on the game, share it with them. You can go to BoardGamesEverybodyShould.com and check out everything that I'm doing there. And you can also show your support at my Patreon, Board Games Everybody Should. Maybe get yourself put into my monthly raffle. So, ciao for now, and remember, you don't need to own every single board game out there, you just need to own a few good ones, and hopefully I've pointed you in the direction whether this is a good one for you or not.
Just sitting at